On today's episode of Butt Crack Cycles, I fix this. Yeah, this is a Ratchet top 4-speed transmission out of my Shovelhead. Let me put this thing down so we can talk. It's a little bit heavy. Anyways, if you are a regular viewer of the channel and been following along with this Shovelhead project, you'll know that I recently pulled the primary cover off of my bike to fix an oil leak, which turned out to be the main sprocket shaft seal coming out of the engine into the primary. So you have to pull the inner primary off to fix that seal anyways. And while I was there, I wanted to take a look at that transmission, because that is without a doubt the worst shifting transmission I have ever ridden, ever, on any bike. It shifts terribly. Some of that is due to the homemade forward controls and linkages, so that's not helping, but there's a lot of slop in that transmission too. It seems to me, obviously I haven't taken it apart yet, that most of the slop is under the top plate in the Ratchet top, or perhaps in the shifter carrier pawls or the carrier bushing. So we're going to pull the top plate off today and take that apart. I've never done this before, so y'all are kind of learning with me here to try and keep it real and, you know, genuine on this channel. When I know what I'm doing and it's something I'm confident in and I've done before, I'll tell y'all, and when it's my first time doing something, I'll tell y'all that too. But not scared of this. Got a factory shop manual, watched a few YouTube videos. Let's dive right into this. All right, so I'm actually going to do something a little bit different on this channel, and I'm going to take this apart outside. It's a beautiful day out right now, and I just cleared myself off a space on this little wooden platform behind my shop, and this is where we're gonna work. I don't necessarily recommend doing this, but hell, you know, the vast majority of my income is as a field service mechanic, so this really isn't too unusual for me. The first thing I'm gonna do, since this thing is gross, is I'm gonna take an air nozzle and just blow it off and take my drink out of the way. This video is sponsored by Waterloo Sparkling Soda. Soda water. It's the official drink of ABBA fans everywhere. Also, really quick, if you like what you're seeing and you want to support this channel and help me grow and you want to see more videos, you can grab a shirt. I've got shirts for sale on my website, buttcrackcycles.com. All right, stop yakking. Let's start working. Now we need to take the actual top plate off, and all you need to do is just take out all of the screws that hold the top plate in. There are 12 of them. 2 of them are longer than the rest. One of the screws, says it's on the screw on the right hand side of the transmission, I'm assuming that means this side, is vented. And the shop manual says the screw must be installed in the same hole when it's assembling the shifter cover, or transmission oil may be forced out into the clutch. This is the vented one, so you can, let's zoom it up here. You can see there's a little hole in it right there, and a little hole drilled through the bolt itself. So this one needs to go back where it came from. Sounds like that's pretty important. And it goes right here. So next we're just going to remove the rest of the screws. These are just like a 5/32 Allen head screw, like countersunk style. Like that. And remember what I said earlier about 2 of the screws are longer. If I can get it to come up out of there. It's these 2 right here. See, they're about, I don't know, 2.5 times as long. Got 12 screws in total. Got me a little baggie. Throw them all in there. Okay, so now we should be ready to pop the actual shifter cover off. I bet this is a little bit stuck, so we're gonna give it just a little gentle persuasion here. There we go. Somebody has siliconed this gasket on here. You can see it all glommed up on there. I really hate silicone in places like this. People get heavy-handed with it, and a lot of times it'll squish out You end up dropping a glob of silicone down in somewhere it doesn't need to be. And silicone is great at sealing stuff. It's also really great at plugging up oil holes and blocking off passages and just getting wedged in places it doesn't need to be. So when we put this back together, this silicone will not be part of the equation. So really quickly, looking down inside the transmission itself, this actually doesn't look so bad. All of the actual, transmission gears. So, and I'm going to take now the main transmission body and just set it aside, because what we are mostly worried about is our shifter top. I can already see something wrong so far. The teeth on this gear is held in, there's a bushing that goes through into your shifter pawl cover, and behind the adapter plate there's a bushing right in here in this top plate, and this gear is held in with a shaft and a cotter pin. The cotter pin's underneath the ratchet mechanism. The teeth on this gear are jacked up. It's not bad, but there's one or two teeth on this gear that look a little bit worn. But before we get to that, we need to take the shift lever off, the dust shield off, and then we can get into the shifter pawl. And I think that's where we're going to find the majority of our wear, because I don't know if that comes through very well on camera, but there's a ton of play in this. All three of these shift lever screws are kind of boogered. So I think my strategy here is going to be do what I just did, which worked. Get my socket as lined up as best as I can. Give her a few whacks and hope for the best. 2 out of 3. Like Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Oh man, I would do anything for love. Oh, including getting that screw out, which I won't do. So I'm just going to drill this one out. Probably could have ground a slot in this, but I don't really care. I'm not using the shifter lever again. Ah. Spoiler alert, this shifter lever it's going to get replaced when the forward controls get replaced on this bike. Dust shield comes off next. Throw that over there. I'm going to take a second and just blow this off from the debris from that drilling. And we jump over to disassembling shifter cover foot shift figure 4-12, which is on page 413 if you're following along in your pew Bibles with me this week, folks, here in the Church of Harley Davidson. So we're gonna take all these loose. Oh, come on. Oh, that's the, no, that's not. One of them has a nut behind it, I know. It's this one. It's not this one. This one acts like it wants to strip. We're gonna say a little prayer. Oh, there it went. And all God's people said amen. So obviously somebody has been in this before. There's, tool marks on essentially all of these bolts. All of these fasteners. Oh, that was the one with the nut on the backside. Let me grab a wrench. Yeah, this is the one I was talking about that has a nut on the backside. Add that and our bolts to our bag. But yeah, I think that's probably what you will find. Damn, that one wants to strip out too. I think that's probably what you'll find on most old Harleys, is that, oh, God almighty. someone's probably been there before you, and as you're seeing here, with all the trouble I'm having, they may or may not have done a good job. Isn't that just the joy of old bikes? I'm gonna try and find another socket that's maybe one size bigger, an Allen, or maybe a Torx bit or something. Easy out, I don't know. See if I can slam it in there and get this one out. So a T20 Torx actually seems like it's maybe close to where I can hammer it in there nice and tight. I'm actually gonna try and put a little bit of heat on this too. And I'm gonna try and use an impact. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Oh, that's hot. So I'm just gonna drill this out. I've already started. I actually, off camera, I went and found an easy out and tried an easy out. I can't find any left-hand drill bits. So I guess I'm gonna drill this out and try and keep this Pawl carrier cover intact because I would like to reuse it. I guess if I have to buy another one of those, I have to buy another one of those though. So our shifter Pawl carrier cover, that's trash now. I wasn't able to get that off cleanly. So we got the Pawl carrier exposed, and you can see just how much weeble wobble there is between this bushing and the shaft. So I'm almost positive that's the issue here. So I need to get this off, try and keep all this together, make sure the springs don't go flying. There we go, nice. That actually went well. And take a look at the springs. They both kind of got a little set to them, a bend, which I'm sure they will, but neither one of them seems overly fatigued, which are probably okay, but in all honesty, it's 2 stupid springs. Like, we're gonna replace those. And now coming back to the Pawl itself, or the Pawl carrier rather, these are your actual shifter Pawls. They've got a little spring behind them, and you want to just look at them and make sure they're nice and like sharp and not rolled over on the ends, which these seem okay. Depending on how easy it is to find parts, these might be getting replaced, despite the fact that I think they're probably fine. And I'm going to put the Pawl carrier back on, and y'all should be able to see that, how much slop there is. It spins freely, which is good, but I think that's just an excessive amount of slop. This bushing, I would say, is probably our main culprit. Okay, so you can see I took the adapter plate off. Move the microphone. I've got the transmission actually jammed in between these 2 planks, kind of using it as a vise. I gotta get this lock tab loose. There we go. Then we can take our neutral safety switch out, as well as the cam follower retainer. I'm not gonna take this out all the way because I want to show you all what this goes to on the inside. So let's do the neutral safety switch next. There's a switch, doesn't matter on my bike because I don't have any indicators. This is what I was talking about here. There's a little spring in here with the detent, you can see. For that cam retainer. Just want to make sure that that's not super de-duper rounded. That one actually has a pretty good amount of wear on it, you can see it. And then make sure that spring's not broken. That spring looks fine. This might get replaced, but that just comes in here and locks all this in place. I will note this stuff is timed to each other. It doesn't really matter for taking it apart, but it is important to put it back together the right way. And then the next thing we need to do is just knock your cam shaft. There's a shaft that runs here through the cam. You need to drive it towards the O-ring side. There's an O-ring here in the back of the cover. So we're gonna use our redneck vise again and grab a little punch and just whack that through. And before you can drive that out, you got to take this little set screw right in there free. There it goes. This is all covered in silicone. So there's your little set screw. It's got to come out. Okay, we're back in the redneck vise. And not doing anything. So on my transmission there was this little plug, or my shifter rather. There's this little plug right here. There it went. Lord have mercy. So my shop manual doesn't say anything about any kind of plug being right there. It just says, and I'll read it verbatim: remove shaft lock screw from left side of shifter cover joint face. Using a suitable drift, tap camshaft from cover. Toward O-ring end of shaft, shifter cam may be lifted out of cover. I don't see this in the diagram in my shop manual either. This was silicone in there, and you can see I started hammering on it thinking it was the end of the cam shaft there, but it wasn't. So if anybody knows what that's about, let me know, because I don't know. I also, trying to dig it out, snapped the tip off of my freaking case pocket knife, which at least these aren't terribly expensive, but that's still like a $80 knife I just ruined that's less than a year old. So yay. Anyways, we can drive this shaft out finally. I watched Angel over on Red Rider YouTube channel. I watched her do this last night, and I think she just pushed her shaft out by hand, or very easily. That is not the case here. Yeah, so I turned the camera off and really wailed on this thing, and jeez, there it is. I might just leave that hanging out for right now, honestly. I don't know why that was so hard. In any event, there we go. Our shifter cam is out. Oh boy. This probably isn't going to come through well on camera. Whoever... Can you see it inside of there? Let me try and make this brighter. Whoever welded this thing up at the factory, boy, they did a terrible job. Look at all the freaking splatter everywhere on this thing. They just did not care. I originally thought, when I saw that, I was like, man, this thing must be broken, and someone tried to weld it back together. It looks like that's actually how this was probably produced. Some good AMF quality, which is hilarious. I just did a video about how AMF saved Harley. And I talked about in that video about how they went chasing numbers instead of quality. Maybe that's a good example of it. Yeah. I'm a terrible welder, but I think I could have done better than that. Or at least would have cared enough to clean it up, Otherwise, the shifter cam looks pretty good. There's a little bit of wear down in here. Not going to come through well on camera on the inside of that. But honestly, this really looks fine. I don't see why I can't reuse it. Ugly booger welds aside. And the crack, the gap here, the seam is wider up there than it is at the bottom. I don't know, whatever. This is probably fine. Okay, our last thing to do here is to get the actual shifter gear out. There's a cotter pin in here, and so you just pull the cotter pin out and then push this shaft out and weasel the gear out. There's a spring back behind there. This looks like this is kind of going to be fiddly and a pain in the butt, so I might do this off camera. I hate doing cotter pins in general. Alright, so I got the cotter pin most of the way out. There it goes. Jeez, I hate doing cotter pins of any variety. Take the shaft out and check that and make sure it looks okay. The square's not damaged or anything on it. Everything really looks okay on that. Obviously needs to get cleaned. Then I'm just gonna weasel this gear over. Might try and take a screwdriver and yeah, I think that's the move there. Yep. Get the tension of the spring off of the screw, or off of the gear rather. Alright, so there's the actual shifter gear. And this one I would say is in need of a replacement. So there's our timing mark, like I was talking about. This all needs to be timed. Some of these gear teeth are starting to look kind of rough. This probably doesn't come through well on the camera, but I'm not real happy with the way that some of those look. And I just want to take a second and just kind of like test fit this all back together. Actually seems pretty tight, so that's good. The last thing I want to do here is just take this shaft and drop it back in this bushing. Make sure it spins freely, which it does. And there's a little bit of play in that bushing, kind of up and down play, but it's very minuscule. That bushing actually seems pretty good. So that's it for this episode. I've ended the day with some greasy hands and a bag full of Shovelhead transmission parts. I don't know, that really didn't go too bad considering I've never done this before. The shop manual's pretty good for this. I would probably recommend watching a video before you do this. Oh wait, you just did. You watched me do this, duh. Yeah, other than some stuff being rounded off and too tight and breaking and stripping, this wasn't a terrible job. It looks like probably to fix this we need to put a new shifter pawl carrier bushing in. So I'm going to clean up my tools and my parts and such and put it all back in the building, and then I'm going to go inside and sit down at the computer and edit this video and also order some parts. So y'all should see me putting this back together here on another episode pretty soon. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you learned something. If you have some suggestions for me, if you see anything I did wrong, tell me. I'm sure you will. People always love to comment about what you did wrong and rarely what you did right. And that's not me complaining. That's just the truth of the world and just how it goes when you make YouTube videos. Anyways, I will see y'all next time on the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, I forgot to finish out all of our 80s, 70s, and 80s song lyrics. We were on a Meatloaf kick about all the stuff that went wrong with this. You know, sometimes it don't come easy. That's what he says. I really like Meatloaf. I'm a big Meatloaf fan. One day I'm going to do a tank with the cover art from Bat Outta Hell. I think that would be sweet on a gas tank on a chopper. Bye.